The polls and the smart kids in the room told us that Senator Lindsey Graham, South Carolina, was going to get defeated by his Democrat opponent. Didn't seem like to work out that way. I mean, on our guest line is U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham from Georgia's neighboring state of South Carolina. I thought you were going to be out. You were the outgoing senator, Senator Graham. You were going to get trounced. What happened?
The people of South Carolina eventually had a chance to say something. The people in New York and California, that they have their views of South Carolina, and they were soundly rejected. So the beauty of this race is that every liberal in North Carolina, New York and California, they're pretty depressed right now because they couldn't buy South Carolina. And thank you to your audience that helped me.
We were fighting hard for you, Senator, and just like we're going to continue to fight for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. And I'm not letting people. I want to talk about the anger that so many Americans are feeling right now, and I want to talk about that frustration and what we do about it, because nobody fights like you do. And I've known you for a long time, and I'm so. I hope you saw the Kevin McCarthy picture yesterday. He took had a picture taken of him in the House chamber, saying, "I'm posing here with all the Democrats who won in the 27 runoff elections." And, of course, he was there by himself in an empty room. Not one of them won, Senator Graham, not one Democrat. There was a red wave in America, really. And that's why people are so frustrated at the outcome of the presidential election. What do you say to people who are worried about election integrity, worrying about Stacey Abrams' machine doing her damage here in Georgia? What do we do about the frustration level that millions of us are feeling?
Well, if you're worried, there's nothing wrong with you. The media doesn't want to talk about this because Stacey Abrams said she was cheated out of the governor's race. She was hailed as a hero by every media outlet in the country as fighting for democracy. Donald Trump is fighting to have a fair day and to change systems that I think are flawed, and all of a sudden he's the enemy of the people. So the media wants Trump to lose. They're not going to give any credibility to these allegations, but the allegations are real in Georgia. Let's talk about two things. If Loeffler and Perdue lose in Georgia, we're screwed. Conservatism is in a world of hurt. So these two senators have to win to stop the most radical agenda coming through the Senate, out of the House, in the history of the country. It is imperative that they win. We got to fight for Trump. If you want Kelly Loeffler and Perdue to win as a Republican, you need to fight for Trump in Georgia. Here's what happened. Georgia's mail-in voting in this last election went up by 4 times. I think the most anybody ever voted by mail before was 5%. They had 30% of the electorate vote by mail. Stacey Abrams conned the Republican leadership in Georgia into a consent decree that basically adulterated the signature verification system so that you're comparing the ballot signature to the application signature. They're the same person who did the fraud. You should be comparing the ballot signature, the envelope signature on the ballot, to a signature that existed before the application was made. She changed that. There's a single person validates signatures in every county. The system is no better than that single person. It should be a bipartisan signature validation process. And here's what they're asking, the Trump team is asking Georgia to do. Audit the signatures. These envelopes, take 10, 20% of them, put them through a forensic audit, and see if they withhold scrutiny, and change the laws when it comes to mail-in voting before the Senate runoff while you can. That's all we're asking. And to the to the Republican leadership in Georgia, you're turning a deaf ear to the people, and you will pay a price for this.
Well, and that's what I'm encouraged by. Millions of Americans' eyes are wide open right now, and I know that, like yesterday, the Supreme Court dealt the efforts to force Pennsylvania for some transparency a setback. It's a huge hurdle, but guess what? So was Lindsey Graham easily winning in South Carolina. That was a hurdle. So was Donald Trump winning in 2016. That was a hurdle. So just because it's tough right now, that doesn't mean we should be disillusioned and demoralized and stop fighting.
Oh, absolutely. So this Texas lawsuit, the Supreme Court has original jurisdiction when there's a lawsuit between states. It goes right to the Supreme Court, not to the lower federal court. Now, what they do with that lawsuit, I don't know. But the people in Texas have done the country a great service. by putting in one lawsuit all the concerns that Trump has about 4 states, including Georgia. But here's what's driving me crazy about Georgia. We don't need a federal judge. We don't need a Supreme Court decision. All we need is for the governor of Georgia to call a special session to order an audit of the signatures in the presidential race to see if the system worked and to change the laws to stop Stacey Abrams from stealing the Senate race. That can be done by the legislative leadership, the governor of Georgia. You don't need a judge, and it's driving me crazy that they won't do this because it's a fair thing to do to protect the Senate runoff and also to give President Trump a fair hearing about his concerns.
What are they afraid of? You know, a lot of these.
No idea.
I mean, they remind me of a lot of Republicans who want to kiss up to the New York Times, and they want to be accepted in the cocktail parties. They want to be inside the Beltway folks, and they don't hear the American people, Senator Graham. They just don't hear us.
You know what I'm worried about is that that if we did an audit, you show it didn't work. The rejection rate of signatures in the 2020 election was 0.3%, a fraction of what it was before. So you'll never convince me that if you increase voting by mail, the rejection rate goes down, not up. So what happens in Georgia? They look at the signature. A single person in every county office makes a decision if it's valid or not. If they have a concern, they go to another person and they work it out. But you're no better than that single person. What do we want? We want a bipartisan group verifying signatures on the envelopes, just like if you showed up on Election Day. You don't have to show any ID to mail-in vote, vote by mail in Georgia. If you go on Election Day, you got to show an ID, and there'll be a Republican and a Democrat looking at you to prove that you are who you are. We need that same type system when it comes to voting by mail. Stacey Abrams' consent decree has screwed Republicans, and the leadership in Georgia could change this tomorrow if they chose to. All we're asking is go into session, set aside the dissent decree, put in bipartisan signature verification for the Senate race, and order audit of the presidential mail-in votes. That's not too much to ask.
Visiting with Senator Lindsey Graham here on the Mike Gallagher Show in the ReliefFactor.com studios. I have to tell you, and I know you know South Carolina like the back of your hand, but you know Georgia too. You're traveling here to Georgia tomorrow or this week, right, with Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue? Yeah,
I'm going down Thursday. My campaign has transferred my donors. I mean, LindseyGraham.com became legendary. I raised $109 million. I raised more money than any Republican running for the Senate in the history of the country. My opponent raised more money than anybody running for the Senate on both sides of the aisle. He raised $132 million. But I raised $109 million. That's more than John McCain raised running for president. How was that? Every conservative on your audience, everybody, Sean's audience, all came to my aid. Every conservative chipped in because of Kavanaugh, because of Judge Barrett, because I'm fighting for Trump. Now, what we need you to do is help Loeffler and Perdue. Go to LindseyGraham.com, and what you will see is the way to give to Georgia. If you go to my website, we're going to direct you to Georgia. So at the end of the day, we need to fight for these Senate seats as if the future of the country depended on it, and it does, but let's do not give up on President Trump. President Trump has legitimate claims that have not been decided by the court, and President Trump is making a request of the governor and the leadership of Georgia to go back in session to do two things that are reasonable, not to overturn the election, just audit the signatures to see if the system worked. And I am so frustrated that they will not comply with that request.
Well, Senator, I mean, final word on the Texas lawsuit. Now, you know, Georgia is being sued. These other four swing states being sued by the Texas AG. The gist of the lawsuit is real simple. It's that you can't throw the Constitution out the window because of COVID. And Senator, we're seeing, look at the lockdown in Los Angeles County. Look at what they're doing in New York. Look at what they're doing all over the country. These Democrat leaders, mayors and governors, shutting down economies, banning outdoor dining, which is garbage, and they're using COVID as a way to take away all of our rights. And I do believe that Americans fundamentally understand this.
Well, the cure can't be worse than the disease. They're destroying the economy in the name of protecting us from the virus. People are losing their businesses. Depression is at an all-time high. Suicide rates are up. There's got to be a balance. This is an overreaction. Outdoor dining, there's no science to say that creates an increased danger beyond just living itself. But here's the problem. What happened here is that they used the COVID as a reason to expand mail-in voting.
Yep.
They violated their own constitutional restrictions on voting by mail. And what do we have today? We have a system that was created out of nowhere, that was run by a bunch of liberal Democrats, that violates the laws of the state where voting took place. And guess what? Trump lost and every other Republican did well. He won 19 of 20 bellwether counties that predict 100% who's going to be president of the United States.
Yep.
So how could it be that we grow our majority in the House, grow our numbers in the House, hold the Senate, and Trump loses? How can that be?
Two words, cheating and fraud. Senator Lindsey Graham, lindseygraham.com. Thank you, sir, for spending some time with us here fighting for these. Yep. And keep fighting the good fight. We'll talk to you soon, and we're going to keep fighting away.
Thank you, Senator. Georgia. Thanks, bud.
All the best. I'll see you there. All right, thank you so much. Senator Lindsey Graham here on the Mike Gallagher Show. When people get discouraged, I really want you to say, I got two words, Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz. There are so many fighters. There are Republicans who aren't going anywhere. Understand that. They're not going away. These voices are going to continue. You have to be absolutely encouraged by the fighting spirit of a lot of Lindsey Graham's, he's the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. He's a powerful guy. They're not going anywhere. And I know it's a tough time. I know there's a lot of reasons to be cautiously optimistic as the fight is in front of us.